Hey guys, we're going to be doing some gameplay as Hogger. Now, I will show you a clip from another game. I just thought this game was going to show a little bit more of what Hogger can do in like more of a consistent sense. Both of these games, I'm going to be going the same build. I really liked this build because you can main tank with Hogger or you could be an off lane. But I kind of was building it to be a main tank. The major downside is you lose a bit of engage potential, but you still have that engage potential. You still like engage with a big slow. You can still knock back into a wall and set up for your team. But in the beginning of this game, I focused primarily on double soaking, and you're going to see that for a good portion of it. There is a little bit of lag. We're on PTR, and I apologize for that, guys. It's just PTR servers are awkward, and we're bound to get some of this lag. So unfortunately, that's just going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. Because I'm looking at my end, and it's not hitting any of my hard drives a lot or anything like that. So it's just a PTR issue. But either way, so what you're going to see a lot, I generally will walk up and engage with these abilities, and then I'll use Hog Wild to back out. And that's kind of my go-to strat. Now, the build that I'm going is W build, and I'll talk more about it as we gain a couple more levels. So early game, I'm just throwing out my W to get some damage off on the waves, and then I just sit back. If I can get some W's on like a particular hero, even better, because then I get some healing. But otherwise, I'm just gonna back off. I don't really want to do much. If you really need healing in a pinch, you can use Loot Horde. And I will say, in both of my games, I underutilize Loot Horde. I don't use it as often as I should. So keep that in mind, that that's something that you guys could be using a lot more to stay topped off, since it does heal you for about 15% of your health. So it's definitely something that I should be using way more often. Again, guys, this is like my third game playing Hogger, so naturally there's going to be a lot of mistakes that I'm making. This is not a 100% guide. This is more of a gameplay video to show you what you can expect when you're playing Hogger. So again, early game, I'm focusing on double soaking as much as possible. I'm doing my best to just throw out my W's, hit the enemies if I can. I'm trying to avoid spreading bombs to even my own minions, since I want to make sure that I'm pushing the lane out. But in this particular case, I want to steal this globe away so that KT doesn't get that globe, and then I'm also going to grab my own globe here. I use my E so that I can get behind the enemy, but we end up getting CC'd before I can use a staggering blow and push him towards my team. You're going to see that I do this combo with ETC quite a bit, so I didn't really have a good role in this game, so he knocks him back, and then I knock him back a little further. And that's something that we can do quite a bit. If you do play with other knockbacks, it's a great tool to be using. As his first objective is spawning, I still haven't hit my power spike. This build's power spike is at level 7 and level 16, and then once again at level 20. So those are the levels that you really want to try to push for. So I'm actually trying to just soak out the lanes just a tad bit more so that I could try to get level 7s before this objective spawns. So I throw my W out, I throw one basic attack onto each of these, and I just wait until my next W is available so that I can throw the next W out. I do want this globe though, so I stay there so I can get the globe. The shrine is active, so I'm heading up there to help my team out just a little bit. And that's when we're going to approach the first team fight, which all I'm really doing on this is trying to land my W's, trying to go in and knock back the enemies into my team. But because the reason why I'm kind of forcing a fight is we have a global as Brightwing, so we can fight a 5v4 where their Hogger's still bot lane. So I figured maybe if I engage, my team can go in and we can get a pretty favorable fight. But I end up losing a decent amount of health, and I don't want to spread any bombs, and I don't want them to accidentally win part of the objective from those bombs. So I end up needing to just back out here. So I just throw out a W, get a little bit of health from it, and I back out. I go to grab the fountain, and I end up getting picked up by a heal from Brightwing. I still go for the fountain. I should have thrown a W here so that I could do half of its health and then come back and do the other half of its health. But I tell my team here I just want to get level 7s because we're already winning more than half the objective. So we go to quickly clear up this particular point. We hit 7s, and now my build has really come online. So how my build works is I use dense blasting powder. So I generally, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to be throwing my W on the ground, not hitting anyone, using my Q to then spread out 3 more bombs, and I'm going to be stacking and gaining a lot of health off of that. And so that's how I use this build most of the cases. So you're going to see, this is what it looks like. I threw 1 bomb here, 1 bomb here, and 1 bomb here, but one of the bombs already procced and hit this. I think maybe the other bomb also already procced. And then so I was able to hit Diablo with pretty much 3 bombs there. And now I can use my E to get a little bit more damage, or I can simply just throw another W out. My Q is a little slow there. I think E is such a great escape. I can use E almost every time. It gives you unstoppable, and you move through things. It's just like a NotParadox E, but a little bit slower. And then I use it for zoning. You'll see I'll throw a lot of times a WQ, and I'll use it for zoning. But some of these fights, my health just shoots up. And I want to show you guys a clip of like the late game after this game's over to show you like how much that does. So I grab both of these, and I see that this guy needs to run down this way, so I end up throwing off a W. Oh no, I just throw it off to their side. And again, just zoning out. It just allows us to zone very easily. And so I can throw out just a W if I want to, but generally I want to do a WQ. The only thing is W has a shorter cooldown, and later game it's going to have even a shorter cooldown. So you will be able to do a WQ into a W into a WQ again. But that's something that I'll need to practice a little bit more. So right there again, just get charged in by Diablo. You do a lot of auto attack damage, so feel free to just smack people when you need to do that. But I mean, look at just so much healing and so many stacks right away. And so now we're heading down here. And thus begins the double soak. So you're going to see that I have quite a bit of wave clear, and I get better at aiming this to where I will always hit the backline with 2 bombs. It's going to take me a couple waves for me to get used to it, but I do get really good at it. So for example, right here, you can see this minion and this minion and this minion are all going to get hit by 2 bombs, and this minion and this minion are going to get hit by 2 bombs. And it's really nice to clear them up a lot faster. It's weird because it doesn't show that it's doing the damage twice, but it does feel like it's doing the damage twice. And then again, it's just great zoning. I'm getting stacks, I'm getting a lot of healing. So right here, I wanted to test the power of Hog Wild, so I end up using my trait, and then I use my E. But we'll see that when we actually get rolling. Oh no, I do this first. I really don't think this should ever be used for damage. It just doesn't do a lot of damage, and I use it a few times this game for damage, and I stunned everyone here. So I stunned him against this wall, and these 2 guys against this wall and this wall. Staggering Blow is really good on most maps. And I mean, you're just going to use it normally, really. Oh, this is where I did it. I use my trait so that I can bounce back and forth, but it just does no damage. So now we're level 10s. I take Hortipult, so I can do a 50% slow and jump into their backline. That way I've got kind of an engage. It also does a decent amount of damage to people around them. It's kind of a fun one. So I drop a bunch of bombs here. I still have Hortipult if we do want to try to fight them. So once the light bomb's over, I do use Hortipult, and I also use my trait. So you can see there's 2 different things right here. One's the Hortipult, one's my trait. Both of these are going to drop healing for me. So my goal here now is to just be as annoying as possible and then get that healing when it pops up. So I am just using my Easy Throw Dynamite directly on him now because I'm using the Staggering Blow to stun him. And the Easy Throw Dynamite with the level 7 will throw a second one out there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my build so far. I do go into the W talent first, giving me 6% health every time that I hit a hero. I go into the Hogger's Joggers. If I land a couple Ws, I'm going to be getting 10% more healing, up to 15% more healing, as well as some extra movement speed so I can move around the team fight a little bit better. Level 7, I go with Dense Blasting Powder, which is kind of the bread and butter of this build. You get to summon all of those extra bombs. Those extra bombs do a ton of damage, a ton of healing. And they just kind of just fill out this entire comp. Level 10, I go Hortipult. I think his main tank Shockwave is slightly better because you have a guaranteed stun, where this is just extra survivability and a big slow and another form of engage. But I think Shockwave will actually be the meta if you were going to play him as a main tank, and I think Hortipult's still going to be great. I think this build's also really good on this map because you can kind of cover zones with your WQ, and you can clear up a lot of the objective, and also you can zone out quite a bit of what the enemies are trying to do. So that's my build so far. Level 13, I'll be taking Bloodthirst, which will give me healing off of my basic attacks and my Q, as well as Hog Wild, but I'm not going to be using a lot of Hog Wild. I just use it to get out of things like APOC, and then I just go right back in. So again, I'm going to stun him against the wall, I'm going to throw out a W, the W is going to bounce and heal me again. And we've already won more than half this objective, so all I need to do now is sneak a W and a Q in there. I do get hit by the Diablo, but I'm gaining a lot of healing, and I still have my E to get away from the Light Bomb. So overall, so far so good. And now just watch how the rest of this objective plays out. I throw out my combo. I'm able to just melee to finish off the Zagara. I use my E and a couple auto attacks to finish off the objective. And now I pick up the globes for our team. And we end up going in. I think level 13 could definitely go with other talents. You already have a lot of healing, but I do like just having that extra healing. But you could certainly go with either of the other 2 talents at 13 in this build. So I'm just basic attacking, moving around a little bit, seeing if I get an opportunity to possibly use like a loot horde to block people. It's not a great body block, I'm just going to tell you guys that now. But I do just use my quick WQ. I can throw a second W out if I want to, but I end up just kind of taking a step back. I like to generally combo these together, and I think I need to get better at throwing one and comboing one and then just throwing one and then comboing one and throwing one. But yeah. So I end up picking up Bloodthirst. I kind of like the idea of Pummel, but again, I usually use my E to escape, so maybe Dust Devil's going to be better just so you have 40 armor whenever you're escaping. So now I just double soak again for my team. I go back to that double soaking that I was doing earlier. I just want to keep my team in this game, and I want to keep higher level. And this is something that kind of feels a little Joanna-esque, where you can quickly double soak for your team, and you can just let your team do whatever, and you keep your team in the game. And so in a way, it's kind of similar to Joanna. Even with Shockwave, is kind of like a mini Blessed Shield. And you just have more survivability. When you finish this quest, you have more health than Joanna at level 20. So there's a lot of really cool things that Hogger brings to a team as a main tank, even though I think his main role is actually going to be Bruiser. And he is considered a Bruiser, but I think mainly he's going to be using the solo lane. But I do think there's a lot of potential as a main tank on maps that have a lot of staying power, or maps that you need to clear a lot of stuff or zone a lot of stuff. I think like Volskaya and this map are going to be huge for him, and I think maybe some of the other maps aren't going to be that big. But yeah, I think like maps where you have to kind of engage on points, he's going to be great. Point control stuff, he's going to be awesome. Level 16, you're going to end up taking Kablooey. Kablooey makes it to where your instant detonations, which means if it lands on someone, do 40% more damage. And that includes instant detonations after you use your Q and it bounces to 3 different locations. Those also count. You also increase your dynamite's throw range and its slow amount, so you kind of do bigger zoning. If they get zoned, then they're gonna get yeah, it looks like it doesn't stack damage, but it does seem like it's doing something. Right here, I tell my team I don't actually want this fight, only because I want to be I want to be 16 before we fight again. So I do a little bit of an E here, and then I end up using just my W and Q to keep kind of zoning out as much as I possibly can. And I still have the ability to like block off their location. So right here, I end up just heading into their backline with my my Hortipults. I kind of split these 2 heroes apart. Use my WQ to zone them out as we're focusing down this this guy. I go on to their Zagara just to make sure we've got a team that can focus on Diablo the whole time. And I go to just zone out their team while we finish off Diablo. So that's one of the things that you can really do. I zoned out 2 different people for the majority of that fight, and they couldn't really do anything about it. So where Diablo is a little bit tankier, I kind of forced the enemies into a really, really bad fight there. I zoned away both of their damage, and we just got a free kill on Diablo, which is awesome. So now I have Kablooey. So the big thing about this is the cooldown reduction. If you hit people, if you get an instant detonation, you shave off 1.5 seconds. So my goal is to still do the same combo, but hope that I get like 1 or 2 instant detonations from it. If I get 1 or 2 instant detonations from it, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to shave off, I mean, upward of 3 or 4 seconds. So that's kind of the best part about this. But again, we've already won half this objective, and same thing. I can simply just throw out my WQ, and I mistimed the Q there a little bit, but that's okay. And I can just zone out stuff. And this is what I want to do. I want to zone out their backline, and I kind of go in like Chen a little bit. I hit him with an instant detonation, and we've won the objective, and we've also kind of zoned out the enemy Hogger as well. So at this point, we kind of want to go in here and get some work done. So I'm just using, again, the extra explosions. My W's on almost no cooldown right now, so I can go and throw out another one. And so I end up just throwing my trade out so that I can get some extra healing if needed. I use my E to go in, and I'm just waiting. So far as what I've done for this team, I have almost as much siege damage as Gazlowe. Because I've been double soaking. I have more damage than everyone on my team except for Raynor, and I have more damage than everyone on the enemy team because you're just constantly poking and being annoying. And then as far as self-healing, I'm self-healing almost as much as ETC, and half as much as an auto-attack Diablo, which is one of the highest self-healing heroes in the game. So to be able to self-heal that much is pretty awesome, but I'm actually going to show you next game. I'm going to show you a clip from next game anyways, or the last game. The order doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you a clip from another game where it gets kind of crazy, but with the extra healing. So right here, again, I want to kind of zone out the enemies, so I could use Hortipult and jump into their backline. I think that's what I should have done. You kind of need to play this a little bit like Mal'Ganis, where you jump in their backline just to scare them off, and then you come back and push the front line towards your team. So right here, we're just trying to finish up that Diablo. I use my E so I can get out, make sure that I have Unstoppable so I don't get hit by like Anduin Root or the stun from Elthos. Right here, I end up just going in with a W, and we see these, so I want to block off their exit if I can, so I simply just do a Hortipult, get some damage off, and from this point on, we pretty much just kind of zone them out and slowly take down the core. So we finish up mid lane. And I wanted to leave initially, but my team decided to stay, which was definitely a good call. And so I'm just sitting there hitting the core. I look to try to get a couple engages on the enemies if I can. But otherwise, I'm just waiting for my ult to come back. More bombs, and again, bunch of healing for me, bunch of damage for the enemy, 50% slows all around. It's kind of like how you have almost an earthquake going around too, which is great. So right here, I would probably want to go in here to try to block out their exit. So I end up using my Hortipult one more time, and the game is over. So I did want to show you guys really quick one clip from another game. There was a fight here where I was just getting interrupted by Deathwing, and the enemy Hogger shows up, and just watch my health, right? So I'm gaining some life here. And so I get out a Hortipult. Now, I immediately get meat from the Hortipult, and then I get my W off, and look at all of this healing that I've gotten so far, and this is before Stukov has even thrown the heal to me. I've gained from 20% to 60% on almost nothing, because my Hortipult at level 20 is throwing bombs and also throwing me meat, and those bombs are exploding and giving me health for each time that they're hitting. And now the rest of this fight is, I mean, pretty straightforward. So I end up finishing my quest, increasing my health bar, which does take a little while. I didn't finish it in the other game, and this game I finished it later. And I mean, the amount of damage that I'm doing to their team and the amount of zoning and the amount of healing that I'm getting is kind of incredible. I use my E to get out, but then all of my team ends up dying purely because our team comp was kind of janky. We had an Abathur who really just played Abathur because he wanted to play Hogger. He doesn't really play Abathur. We also had a Kel'Thuzad against a Deathwing, so Deathwing just walks at him, and I can't peel a Deathwing. And so our only damage dealer just gets walked on by Deathwing, and then we have no way to kill Deathwing. And then otherwise we're against a Malthael. So this was it. I just wanted to show you guys this particular fight and then also how the game ends off afterwards. I mean, the amount of healing I do is just crazy. Because I stay at that full rage getting 15% increased healing, and then I'm just throwing W's out like crazy. Now, I do want to skip ahead a little bit in this video to where when we actually lose, I want to show you the stats at the end of this game. Oh, I actually stopped recording early. Darn. I wish there was a way I could show the stats. I actually topped literally everything. I topped everything but experience contributed. And the part of the reason why is, again, we had the Abathur who had the experience contribution, but I topped damage by quite a bit. Enemy Tassar was at 68,000. I was at 70,000 at the end of this game. My self-healing was more than our healer's healing. That is what was happening in this game. So that's the power of level 20. If you can get to 20 on with the Hortipult's level 20, you gain so much life and you pretty much win every fight that is done within 20 seconds. As long as the fight's over within 20 seconds, you will win that fight because Hortipult is just so strong. Because Hortipult lasts for 20 seconds. And it's going to be throwing bombs every 2 seconds. It's going to be throwing meat at you every 10 seconds. And I think it could, like when you upgrade, it goes down to 5 seconds. And you're just going to be healing off of all of that, slowing everyone multiple times by 50% because of your W's that are being thrown out. It's incredible. It's so powerful. So I really like this build. I think it's a ton of survivability. I think it's a decent amount of like poke damage and great zoning. I think the only downside is you don't have like that guaranteed engage, which you can kind of get with the other ult if you want to go that route. I do think there's other builds for him, of course, but this particular build is a ton of fun and it's really powerful. And you have double soaking. You've got everything that you need, really. So that is some Hogger gameplay. I won a game, I lost a game. And I played a couple other ones, and he seems very strong. I feel like every game I had a ton of impact in the games. The only thing is it feels a little like the Scythe build on Zool, where like if the fight goes a little too fast, this build kind of feels bad. Because you don't have a lot of like hard CC, you just have kind of a knockback, and that's about it. So fast fights tend to feel a little bad, but long fights feel great. So keep that in mind that if you're going against teams that are wanting faster fights, you may want to go with your ult that just CCs and try to just pick one target and just stun lock them. So CC it with your ult, drop down a loot horde, and then just stun them against the loot horde and hope that your team kills that target immediately. Otherwise, that is main tank. As I know we had like ETC, but I still was kind of four-manning with the team for a while. That's my main tank build. You can run this in the solo lane too. It's just you're going to be really beefy and not have as much damage to kill a backliner, but it's still pretty good. Overall, again, looking at the stats, very solid, almost up to ETC self-healing. And I also didn't take that much damage during these fights. I think if I would have taken more damage, I could have healed a lot more, especially if I had level 20. But as far as like experience contribution and stuff, like again, I kept up with Gazlo as someone who's much tankier than Gazlo. So rather neat. I'm still not 100% sure where he's going to fit in the meta. I think that he's an interesting tank on like standstill fights. I think people need to not overthink him. I think he's just a pretty heavily statted hero that's probably not the best for anything in particular, but he's great at a lot of stuff. So I think that's really good. He almost plays a little bit like Urel if you do play him in the solo lane, because you can kind of go in the back line, just annoy them for a bit, and you have a really easy escape to get back out. So I think there's a lot of ways to play him, and I've seen a lot of different play styles in the last few games. So we'll definitely see how it plays out. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other videos.